Hi, folks. I'm Greg Adamore, and I welcome you tonight to share with us on Experts of Southern Nevada. I'm your real estate coach, and we're here every Tuesday at 5 p.m. and 9:30 a.m. to share current trends and up-to-date information about our real estate market and our economy in the Las Vegas area. And today I've been real happy and overjoyed to bring in a associate of one of my peers, Steve Hawks, who's a well-known speaker, and he's been on CNN and Fox Business and Wall Street Journal, and you've got the Real Estate Investment Club, and so you've been into some of your seminars, and welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you. Thanks.
What's been going on? What's been happening with you?
Well, the real estate market's changing every 6 months, so trying to keep our abreast of what's going on quickly with all the new government programs, new state laws that are affecting homeowners and buyers. So right now, last year I think the prices were up 32%. Yeah. So this skyrocketing real estate market, people got to be on their toes to make sure they're in the ball game.
Yeah, that's true. They got to get the scouting report. They need to contact you or tune into one of your blogs or the YouTubes.
Yeah, it's at something, our different events that we've spoken at, we've pretty much called it the last 5 years. Every, preview of the year, we've pretty much been on target. Mm-hmm. This year will be interesting to see because we're going to see a lot of variables pan out this year. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. I noticed one of your YouTubes that was very interesting when they had the homeowners bill of rights, and I'm going to just maybe touch on it briefly about it because I know it's a subject that you can expand on. But it seems like the homeowners that are not making payments, some of them now are actually going to be more insulated from being accountable than they used to be.
Right. Well, it goes back. It starts at AB 284 in October of 2011. Mm-hmm. If you recall, we told buyers and investors, whatever you do, start buying right now. Yeah. Because the property values are going to skyrocket because of AB 284, which basically stopped all the notice of defaults. Yeah. So it took the banks about a year to figure that out and tweak the law so they're able to continue the notice of default process. Mm-hmm. Remember, at the time, now we're at 2 or 3 years, people are not making their payment at that time, 2011. Yeah. That's why we saw the inventory shrink. Mm-hmm. And then towards the end of 2013, mid-2013, we saw the NOD starting to come back. Notice of defaults, NODs is notice of defaults, the first phase of the foreclosure. Mm-hmm. We started seeing them come back to 1,000. And then in May, they passed that SB 321, which took effect October 1st. Mm-hmm. As you remember, in September, there was 3,900 notice of defaults in 1 month, which was one of the highest months ever. Sure. And all the banks were trying to get as many as they could out before the new law took effect. Mm-hmm. And that started October 1st. And now we're down to about 200, average about 200 to 300 notice of defaults per month since SB 321 started. Mm-hmm. And what it has done is it's started to shrink the inventory. Inventory started going up again. Mm-hmm. It's still double what it was a year ago. Sure. But it's still very, very low inventory in many parts of town. It's still tough for buyers to find a house, and prices are going up, so it's good for home sellers. Mm-hmm. And with SB 321, with the homeowner isn't making their mortgage payment and they don't have a notice of default, the bank has to go through a lot of different steps. We have a map, the chart that shows all the different steps. Mm-hmm. Now, it's going to take the banks probably 12 months to get this program in place in order to fulfill all these steps. And that's, to your point, people will probably be able to stay in their house now from anywhere from 3 to 5 years. The average person right now is over 3.5 years.
Wow, that's a long time for people. And I know we have a fiduciary relationship to our clients, and a lot of times they come and they're trying to regroup, and I've got some clients there almost 5 years. And we're trying to protect them. They're trying to do the right thing. Some of them are some of them are actually getting back to work now. Yeah. And because values are going up, they're not so deep underwater. So it's there's hope for them. And we're getting a lot more traditional sales, aren't we?
Yeah, traditional sales are, I think, about 70% of the market now, which a year ago they were probably 25% of the market. Mm-hmm. But when prices go up 34%, 35%, you're going to see a lot of that. Plus, we're seeing a lot of investors starting to put some of their houses back on the market, which is giving buyers an opportunity to get into a home now again, too.
Yeah. Are you seeing much or hearing much about the HOAs that are foreclosing on homes or selling the liens?
Actually, there's some court cases being heard right now that the HOAs, so one of the reasons why the HOA liens came about, because this wasn't a very popular business model, up until AB 284 and SB 321. Because the reason why the HOA is such a viable business model right now is because it's hard for the banks to foreclose on homes because they have to have all the paperwork correct, right? And many of these loans, they don't have the paperwork.
Yeah.
So the houses are sitting in limbo. But the homeowners weren't paying their HOA. So the HOA can foreclose and collect that money. Well, investors saw a niche and they started buying these HOAs. And typically before AB 284 and SB 321, HOA lien, if anyone ever buy it, a foreclosure, it would go for maybe $2 or $3 grand. Just the other day, we saw one go for $50,000. The HOA was only owed about $12,000, but the investor actually paid $47,000 for it. Well, why would someone pay for that? Well, what they do is they foreclose on it and they rent it out to collect the rent, right? That will pay their investment back. But what we're seeing right now is that investor that purchased it actually has a case that's, I believe, going to be heard in front of the Nevada Supreme Court. And what they're trying to do is wipe out the first and second trust deed. So now that HOA that was purchased, that HOA foreclosure, they're going to take over the entire house, the entire deed. They're the owner. So for that's right, free and clear. So for $5,000 to $15,000, that's what they were paying before.
Wow.
They'll be able to take over a house that's worth anywhere from $150,000 to $1 million. And the reason why there's a indication that the courts might rule, hey, if you bought the HOA, you can wipe out these, because this individual investment firm is one of the investors that paid $47,000 for this HOA. They have a case, so they must know something we don't, or they're taking a big chance. Because why would you pay that much for an HOA unless you're a pretty good idea that they're going to wipe out those first and second trust deeds?
Right, and recently we were able to have Jonathan Friedrich on the show, and also Michael Lathegi from your investment group that you do the seminars, and there's shared some brilliant things, and particularly with the HOAs. I think it was Judge Pro, but they are testing it in the courts now. But they are extinguishing the first and second mortgages, so people who want to get more information can contact the station, or we can put your website up here, and we can get information about these trends. Because let's suppose a house is worth, I have one on the market that has HOA lien of about $20,000, and if it's sold for $50,000, the house is worth $500, $450 or $500. And can you imagine buying a home for 10 cents on a dollar?
Right.
And legal?
Right.
Now the banks seems like they better kind of sharpen up and pay attention to make sure that they keep not only the taxes and homeowners insurance, which they're pretty faithful to, but also to start paying attention to these HOA liens so they don't lose their standing.
Right. It's a double-edged sword that they're playing with, because it's a great deal for the investors, but a lot of the banks and financial institutions are going to say, you know what, we're not lending in Nevada anymore, so we'll make our interest rates go up. So that's also a double-edged sword that they got to watch out for. Because I know in Florida, the banks keep up with the HOA, but yeah, the banks are trying to fight it, but it might be too late.
Yeah, it might be. We talked about in the seminar that you had a little bit about how the Federal Reserve printing up money, and how's that affecting the market now, and what should we be aware of?
Well, the one reason why prices have gone through the roof right now, as we know, the Federal Reserve the Fed has printed over $4 trillion the last 5 years. What that has done, to give an idea of it, I mean, our money supply has been going like this, and then the last 4 years it went exponentially up like that. So what's that done is it's pushed down interest rates for that way people can afford more home, obviously. And so if someone with $50,000 income, instead of affording $150,000, now they're going to afford $200,000, $225,000. But how it's really impacted our market, Phoenix and California, inland California, is the hedge funds have access to this cheap money, 0.75, 1% interest rate. So they're able to borrow this at 1% and go in and purchase these houses as cash. And right now, 55% of all the homes, approximately 55% of all homes in Vegas are investor owned. So, and then if you look under that's all homes. So if you go under 300,000, you're probably close to 60%, 62% of all the homes are investor owned.
So they're just use them for rentals, little ATM machines that buy them, and then cash flow of the properties. Of course, paying less than 1%. How does the mom and dad compete with that? How does a small-time investor deal with this?
Yeah, the mom and pops are having a tough time. Everything works in cycles. The investors, we just saw Blackstone came out today that their rents on these homes have dropped 7.6% just in the last 3 months. So these hedge funds are going to start saying, hey, these hedge funds, they all have egos. They want to be on the cover of Forbes. You're not going to get on the cover of Forbes with a 4% return. So they're going to start exiting, and that's going to give opportunities again to mom and pops. Because traditionally, investment real estate, single family homes, less than 50 units are, local mom and pop investors, small investors that save money, buy a house for income producing. And the recent printing of money and access to this cash has kind of changed that model a little bit for now.
Yeah, and let's kind of address the issue with less moms and dads involved and less local ownership of these properties with the hedge fund infusing their capital in here. It's kind of affected our job market here in the economy because that money's not staying in town, is it?
Correct. I mean, if Nevada wants to, help home ownership, because our home ownership is down to 1980 levels. It's dropped back to 1980 levels. And one of the reasons why is these hedge funds are squeezing people out because they have access to this cheap money. Nevada needs to institute a tax on these hedge funds to even the playing field so we can increase our home ownership, because there's there's tons of buyers out there that want to buy that can't compete with these hedge funds. So now to even the playing field, and I know there's some people talking about this in Carson City soon, to tax these hedge funds like a Nevada transfer tax to even the playing field.
Oh, yeah.
Because like you said, this money, for example, a home buyer, I'm sure you had this happen, we've made offers on homes, they a $200,000 house, the hedge fund pays $220,000 cash, about $20,000 above the appraisal. The owner is now going to have to rent that house for $1,800. The person that was going to buy it, our owner occupant, now instead of owning that house and having a payment of $1,000 or $1,100 a month, they're going to have to rent it for $1,800. Not only is that $1,800 leaving our state and going to Wall Street or foreign investors that are funding this, it's also taking $600 a month out of our middle class and owner occupants' pocket and sending it off to Wall Street in hedge funds. So instead of that $1,200 a month rent or $1,200 a month mortgage, they're paying $1,800 a month rent. That's $600 a month that could have been going directly into our local economy. You mean times that by 40,000, because we know that the investors have purchased about 40,000 homes in the last 2 years, and I can guarantee about 90% of those could have been sold to owner occupants if it was on a level playing field.
Sure, and that affects the local market, the Home Depots, the businesses here, more jobs, more money being circulated in our economy. I think it's a brilliant idea that you come up with putting a transfer tax or some fee on there, because we know our state governments are suffering. They're talking about raising property taxes in Henderson, and we need to keep some of the money llocally and protect our citizens. And, and being how they have that inherent advantage of getting the money at the price from the Federal Reserve, 1% or 0.75%, and mom and dad are paying 4 to 6, so it doesn't really serve Nevada well. So I think a lot of homeowners should probably look into your website. We're going to put that on the bottom here a little bit for you and get more information, not only about the hedge funds and the economics of this, but again, the Senate Bill 321 and the Assembly Bill 284. These are important things that people need to do their homework on.
Yeah, one of the largest hedge funds in the country gets their funds from Deutsche Bank, which is being funded a lot from Chinese investors. So this is keeping the middle class, keeping them out for now. It's hurting them by doing this. So we're seeing the newspaper, the prices have gone up, but we have to get some home ownership and build the communities back up.
Yeah, I'm finding I do a lot of business in my community where I live in Rhodes Ranch. I've lived there about 14, 15 years. I've seen a pretty strong infusion of money from Philippines and a lot more even from China. And I guess a lot of people, I know you touched on the China economy, and a lot of people are trying to get their money out of China. Is that correct?
62% of all the millionaires in China are trying to get their money out because they know that China is the biggest joke on the world in the history. Because what China's been doing is, we talked about the Federal Reserve printing $4 trillion. Well, China, the People's Bank, they've printed $15 trillion, and their economy is only 33% the size of the United States. So all of your viewers can Google ghost cities, China ghost cities. And what these are literally cities the size of Los Angeles and Las Vegas with high rises and apartment complexes that are completely vacant, that China just built to keep their people working. And now these investors in China, these wealthy, want to get out, and they're trying to get their money out, and they're willing to overpay. In fact, Canada just passed a law in the whole country that there was 47,000 visas that were rejected and sent back to China because they had a special program since 1986. They would allow China investors to come over through a visa program and invest in Canada. But since they were bringing all this basically printed money over and exchanging it for real estate, Canada said, no, this is not right. And that's what they've done to Vancouver. Vancouver, the average price in Vancouver now is $900,000. So Canada took action and they said, no more of this. They returned those 47,000 visas and said, we're not taking any more. Because they were taking this money and hurting the Canadians by blowing up these prices. And we've also seen it in San Francisco. San Francisco prices are higher than 2006 now.
Oh, yeah, I see a little bit of that money coming to Vegas now because they're looking to a place to park that money before their economy collapses, because you can't just print money. You can't just use monopoly money. We got to have some type of basis.
And that's why China has purchased more gold than ever before the last year.
Yeah, and that's always a good, very good investment, I think, to hedge against inflation. Yeah, you've seen a lot of Chinese, and I think there's a lot of money getting funneled through Macau. We see the gambling profits that are Sheldon Adelson and some of the people that have casinos down in Macau and Singapore. They're just incredible. What, 36 to 40 billion in profit? I can't remember the numbers. It's just mind-boggling.
The Strip was 6 billion, I think, and Macau was 45 or 46 billion dollars. So yeah, you have all these Chinese mainlanders going on there just throwing money. The average age of a owner of a Ferrari in the United States is 48. In China, 32.
Wow.
To give you that's all new money that's come just in the last 4 or 5 years from all these. I mean, once somebody Googles China ghost cities and they see the Bloomberg special and the CBS special, they're going to see these cities and go, wait a minute. China has been telling everyone how they're growing their economy. This is what they're growing their economy in. And now for the first time, Foxconn, who actually, they produce cell phones, the Apple phones, they have 1 million people who work for them. There's 1 million people who work for Foxconn. Foxconn wants to expand. Well, guess the 2 places they're looking to expand. It's not China. Indonesia and the United States of America. Because it's actually cheaper to manufacture these electronics and these cell phones in the United States now than it is in China. Because in China, even though they only make $1 or $1.75 an hour or whatever it is now, in Foxconn, the employees throughout China, when an employee works at a corporation or business, these big manufacturings, they live there, work there, eat there, their grocery stores there, they have a fire station, Foxconn, they got a fire station, a doctor's office, everything is paid for. You don't buy anything. From toothpaste to toilet paper, everything is provided for you by that company. So that's why, with all these commodities going up, that's why we're starting to see these Chinese manufacturers looking for other places to manufacture. And that's why China doesn't have Social Security or food stamps. So their idea of unemployment is to buy these commodities, buy this structure, and build these cities to keep their people working. And that's their form of unemployment. But now it's starting, time is running out for them.
And it gets construction moving and it makes things look good on the economic indicators,
Correct. And if you look at the cost, if you want to see what's really, because the numbers coming out of China are bogus. I mean, nobody can really validate. Any economist will tell you that. It's all hype. But if you look at the price of copper and iron ore, you can see that the shipments are going down. So we know that their building is starting to decrease.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think we need to, nowadays in realtors, we have different skill sets than some of our predecessors. We have to be more involved with the macroeconomics and see how it affects us here at the micro level, at the local level, because people can see that the price of food, any housewife can see when she goes to the grocery store, hey, things are costing more. Money's not as worth as much as it used to be.
People can't take, the government says that our inflation is less than 1%, less than 2%. Where are they getting it? You know why that is? They don't count food and they don't count energy. So if you don't eat, you don't drink, you don't drive a car, you don't heat your house, and you don't use any electricity, then that's your inflation rate. But beef right now is at all-time high. Chicken's at all-time high. Pork's at all-time high. Electricity is at all-time high. So our food is going through the roof because of these policies and these macroeconomic conditions. And the reason why they keep the inflation number down is because that's how they based all the Social Security checks and stuff on. And that's why we're seeing another niche in real estate. A lot of elderly people that used to just be fine with a 5% CD, that 5% CD doesn't work anymore. So what are they doing? They're buying investment homes to live the same lifestyle they did just a few years ago.
Yeah, I know a lot of my clients, we used to work when I was at Century 21, we had a nice gal named Nikki Kimberlin, bless her heart. But when she turned 80, she paid off her mortgage, and she had a big party. And one of the things she shared is, I wish I would have bought the house across the street and kept it for rental, because now I have a free and clear home.
Yeah.
which means I don't have a house payment. I can relax a little bit. But if she bought the identical house across the street, that would give her money to travel, to maybe do things with her grandkids, take them to Disneyland, or
Right.
support them or help them go through college or something. So I think a lot of people are looking at real estate as a hedge against inflation, or at least a cash flow, not just your home, which is obviously your castle, but and a place to live and wake up every morning and enjoy your life. I mean, the home ownership is just one of the driving basis of our whole economy. And once we see that getting healthy, we see people going back to work.
Right.
We're seeing new homes that are starting to really. What's your take on what's happening here in the community with the new homes? It seems like they're a little bit more per square foot, but they're still selling and they're building them again.
Yeah, the new homes have, I think they're selling about 500 a month now, 550 a month. Because of the demand, because of these large shortage of inventory, they've kind of got up in prices, but now they're starting to come back down again and be more affordable. So I think we're going to see a small decrease in the price of new homes, which is good for buyers because they can get into a new home more affordable. And the builders are starting to realize that they got a little carried away. But these big builders, they had such a high margin in, dropping it 10 or 15 grand. It's not really going to affect their profits. So I think we'll see they'll still be able to make good money selling their homes, and buyers will still get a good opportunity.
Yeah, you're saying before the cameras were rolling that they're throwing in incentives of paying closing costs and upgraded appliances.
Yeah. Well, here's the difference. 6 months ago, last May, you'd walk into a new home builder and they'd say, sign here, take a number, we'll call you.
Yeah.
Today, they're saying, oh, come on in, we'll give you $15,000 here, we'll give you $5,000 here. There's some builders in the Northwest, the homes were $300,000, they're knocking off $30,000. There's some, one of the major builders in town just across the board, standing inventory, $15,000 right off the bat. So when you go in and start negotiating with them, you probably get $30,000 off that. So you can probably get 10% off a lot of homes right now, new homes.
Well, that's very encouraging for our viewers, and a lot of people can get the long-term warranties and, of course, pick out the decorum. So there are some advantages to new homes as well as resale. I know a lot of resales, the prices are great. We just sold one in Mountain's Edge. It was $467. The short sale just will close at $284.
Yeah.
So I mean, the buyers and the neighbors are going, wow, they got a payment that's like about 40% less than mine, and I've been here since day one.
Right.
But timing's so important, isn't it?
Timing is when you have so much government intervention, and they pretty much turned real estate, a lot of these areas that were distressed, into basically stock markets. Timing is very, very important. And we see what the effects of the timing. I mean, it's one reason why the viewers, it's good to listen to our updates, is because the market's changing every 3 to 6 months. I mean, before, you know how it was, it changed once every 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah.
The cycles took 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
now they're taking 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Just a few, in 2008 it was the REO wave. 2009, 2010 was a short sale. 2011 the short sales continued. Then we kind of had a changing, and now it's traditional.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
So.
Because there'd be a lot of brain damage from the short sales. Both buyers that are waiting 6, 7. I've got people that are waiting over a year. I just sold a bank repo, and believe it or not, my buyer put the cash in about 2 weeks ago, and they're holding up the closing because it's turning very nice people, but they just had a trash demand. So I mean, some of the things when you get involved, I mean, it's good to go to a local realtor. We know where to get the financing, how to get the inspections, you need a title company, people, and with your experience and Platinum, you know very reputable people, subcontractors, so to speak, that make these transactions smoother, more streamlined. And I think that's the beautiful thing about getting a local realtor. They know the market.
Yeah, it's 100% use a local realtor that's in the trenches, because everything you're seeing on TV right now, you know this, and every realtor goes, what are they talking about? That's 3 to 6 months old. So you have to find out exactly what's going on right now, because if you watch CNBC or some of these other, you got to remember that the newspapers and these advertisers get paid by these big corporations, builders, and so they're not going to give you, there's two sides to every story. They're going to give you this side. We're going to give you the truth, because we're in the trenches. Here's the facts, and we're going to know this is what the builders are doing. This is what you can get from them right now.
Yeah, that's the good thing about some. In real estate now, what area, do you have a special area that you like to work in or specialize in? Or?
Yeah, we do residential and commercial. Like a few years ago it was bank owned, and short sales. Now it's traditional, helping homeowners. Right now there's a special niche that there's homeowners that just a few years ago they were short sales, and now they can get out of the house without being a short sale and having a little bit of equity. So right now, homeowners that were just stressed a year ago or now have the opportunity to get that monkey off their back and sell and take advantage of the market.
Do you see creative financing coming back into the market a little bit? I see in the advertisements in the paper sometimes a few of the agents are owner carry, owner finance, or lease options.
Yeah, in fact, that's one of the signs that we saw just a few months ago. In fact, now talk about creative financing. Their stated income is back for investors. No money down loans are back for owner occupants. If you have a short sale, foreclosure, or bankruptcy, you can now buy a house 1 year after that.
Amazing.
With a decent rate. I think the rate is about 4.9 or 5.5. I'm right around there. So it's not like it's a 10% like it used to be.
No.
It's still a competitive rate. And then we have the 80-10-10, so an owner carryback with 10%. So remember the late 90s, early 2000s where it was a seller carrybacks? Now there's new programs where if the buyer has 10%, the seller can carry back 10%, and they do 80-10-10. So it's like putting down 20%, no MI, and you have the seller that carries back a second.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing. A lot of viewers may not understand the dynamics of this, but no mortgage insurance might save a client $150, $200 a month, plus getting in with 10% down. Then the seller can make interest on it too, so it's a win-win situation.
Right.
That's why it's so important to consult a realtor like yourself or myself with a lot of experience, and that can really guide people through this, because financing is so important. It's how much down, how much a month, and people are buying now for less than they pay for rent.
Correct.
So, you know, that's where someone like you. I remember years ago, I don't know, you're in Horizon Ridge?
Right.
That office was so beautiful. I've never seen more sports memorabilia.
Oh, yeah.
I fell in love with it. I didn't want to leave. I was like,
Thanks,
if I wasn't living in Rhodes Ranch, I'd say, hey, I'm going to knock on your door and come down and work with you, because I know you're one of the top producing agents and have the best reputation, and I've been wanting to get you on the show for the longest time.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate
It's
that.
an honor to have you on, and our viewers, if you want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to reach you, cell phone and email?
Yeah, the email is stevehawks@cox.net, and phone number is 702-458-3999.
Yeah, good. We're going to put that on the bottom of our screen there, and I hope to have you back. I know we had Jonathan for you to come in, and then Michael Lathagee, and they've helped promote, and I think Michael sent out like 20,000 emails, you know, with a link to the YouTube when we're on the show. And I know you've been on, you know, national TV and a lot of spokesmen for the Las Vegas market and doing a great job here.
Thanks.
I really want to thank you for coming.
All right, thank you.
Hopefully we have you back soon.
Yeah, anytime. Appreciate it.
And have you back. And I want to thank you for sharing with us tonight. Again, I'm Greg Adamore, your real estate coach, and we're here every Tuesday at 5 o'clock and 9:30 in the morning. So we look forward to seeing you right here next week on Keen TV. Thanks for being with us. And again, thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thanks.